Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. It's Wednesday, October 7th. I'm Stephanie Haney. This is where we bring you the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thanks for choosing to be here to get filled in on what's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. We start off with a story that is still very popular today for a not great reason. Rock and roll legend Eddie Van Halen passed away yesterday, and the tributes continue to pour in as the world of music was absolutely rocked by this news yesterday. Eddie died at the age of 65 on Tuesday morning. Of course, the lead guitarist for Van Halen, an absolute icon in the music industry. Now, he was diagnosed with cancer 10 years ago, but his family said that his health took a dramatic turn and he passed away on Tuesday morning. It was his son, Wolfgang Van Halen, who tweeted out that news, calling Eddie the best father that he could have asked for, saying that every moment was a gift and his heart is absolutely broken. Tributes were coming in from all around the world, all around different industries. Eddie Van Halen's ex-wife, actor Valerie Bertinelli, tweeted out a message referring to Eddie as "my love." Sammy Hagar shared a photo with Eddie on a plane, saying that he was heartbroken and speechless and sending his love to the Van Halen family. Then there's Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue saying that he was just crushed, calling Eddie the Mozart of the guitar. Billy Idol saying how much Eddie Van Halen will be missed. Taylor Momsen of the Pretty Reckless saying that this was a particularly hard one to take and that his influence and music will go on forever, and thanking him for everything that he's done. Absolutely been instrumental in the world. Kenny Chesney, Robert Downey Jr., lots of people sharing their condolences from across industries. Van Halen is among the top 20 best-selling artists of all time, and the band was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland in 2007. Rolling Stone magazine put Eddie Van Halen at number 8 in its list of the 100 greatest guitarists. Definitely a loss to the music industry yesterday that people are still mourning and will continue to mourn. So if you'd like to see those messages from people who have been impacted directly from Eddie Van Halen, we do have that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Now, late yesterday, overnight, President Donald Trump was tweeting again. If you look at his Twitter feed right now, there is a lot going on. But we're talking about a tweet that he sent out last night asking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to send him a bill to directly send Americans $1,200 stimulus payments. Now, this is after President Donald Trump tweeted earlier yesterday that he was walking away from negotiations for a COVID-19 relief package leading up to the election. He said that it would be something that he would revisit after the election, and instead he wanted Republicans to focus on the confirmation of his Supreme Court nominee. Well, when he did that, he really freaked out the stock market. The stock market closed at a drop yesterday. The Dow Jones closed at a loss of 300 points yesterday after he had tweeted out that statement. Some Democrats even questioning, what is he doing here? This seems like a very strange move leading up to an election when so many Americans are out of work. So many Americans are really hoping for that stimulus. Also, after warnings from the Federal Reserve Chairman about the conditions of the economy. Well, then later in the evening, President Donald Trump tweeted that if he was sent a standalone bill of stimulus checks, $1,200 stimulus checks, they would go out to people immediately, and he would sign it right away, specifically addressing Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Now, Nancy Pelosi, who is the leader of the Democrats who have control of the House, has said that she does not want a piecemeal COVID-19 relief package, that it's more expansive than that, is more and more is needed. Well, then President Donald Trump tweeted that the House and Senate should immediately approve $25 billion for airline payroll support and $135 billion for paycheck protection programs for small businesses. This is that program that's supposed to help small businesses not have to lay people off and be able to continue making those payments. Trump also tweeted that both of those would be fully paid for with unused funds from the CARES Act, which has not been verified, but he said that he would sign this now. Now, this was all after President Donald Trump tweeted that Nancy Pelosi was not negotiating in good faith and that the Senate Majority Leader, again, should direct his focus on the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Now, as all of this was going on, Former Vice President Joe Biden, his campaign said, make no mistake, if you are out of work, if your business is closed, if your child's school is shut down, if you are seeing layoffs in your community, Donald Trump decided today that none of it matters to him. Now, as I said yesterday, when the president first tweeted about walking away from these stimulus checks, the Dow Jones dropped 300 points to close the day. The stock market is rebounding today now that he has tweeted about those bills that he would like to see for airline payroll support and also for paycheck protection programs for small businesses. However, that is not something that Republicans are likely to agree on in the Senate, which is controlled by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, if you are out of work right now, we do have resources on WKYC.com. Our consumer investigative reporter, Danielle Serino, has been on this, and she continues to put out new information. But there are industries that are hiring during the pandemic. Specifically, customer-related jobs seem to be more available right now. There are also delivery-related jobs. Amazon is looking for new workers, particularly here in Ohio and in other places. So we do have those resources on WKYC.com and on our WKYC app. You can go ahead and search for industries that are hiring amid the pandemic, and you'll be able to find that, as well as news stories that are coming out today, actually, from our consumer investigative reporter, Danielle Serino. So keep an eye on that. Now, looking ahead to tonight is the first and only vice presidential debate. That's happening at 9 p.m. tonight. All of this talk about stimulus checks will most likely be a subject tonight, especially for the fact that one of the people on that debate stage tonight is current Senator Kamala Harris, who is the Democratic candidate for the vice presidency. Of course, she'll be debating current Vice President Mike Pence, running again on the Republican ticket with President Donald Trump. Now, like I said, those topics not disclosed beforehand, but it would be very unlikely that we don't see some sort of conversation about this, given the fact that this has been so impactful in the last 24 hours, the president tweeting about these negotiations for a COVID-19 relief package. Here's what you can expect to see tonight. 9 segments that are about 10 minutes each with no commercial breaks. Again, that's according to the Commission on Presidential Debates. And now let's talk about those COVID-19 precautions, because the president has been confirmed to have been infected with COVID-19. Vice President Mike Pence has been in his orbit. Many people in the president's orbit have now tested positive for COVID-19. From what we know so far, Vice President Mike Pence has tested negative for COVID-19, but what we do know from medical professionals is that a negative COVID-19 test does not remove the requirement that you are supposed to quarantine. So there will be additional precautions being put in place at tonight's debate. The moderator, USA Today's Susan Page, will be 12 feet away from the candidates, and the candidates will be 12 feet away from each other. This is more distance than the original 7 feet that had been planned. And there will be a small number of people with tickets that are guests. They will be escorted out if they do not wear masks. This is apparently a nod to the fact that President Donald Trump's family and members of his campaign were not wearing masks during the first presidential debate that happened here in Cleveland. Also, the plexiglass issue. Plexiglass is installed in front of each candidate's desks. The candidates will be sitting at desks for the debate tonight. It was Senator Kamala Harris's team that asked for the measure, and early on, there was some pushback from Vice President Mike Pence's team. The spokesperson, Katie Miller, said that if Senator Harris wants to use a fortress around herself, have at it, but they had initially not wanted plexiglass, then later saying that they would have plexiglass if that was what was needed in order to make people comfortable. So, as of right now, again, these things are always in flux. You never know what's going to happen until we see what shows up at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight on the stage. But as of right now, there will be plexiglass in front of each candidate's desk at the vice presidential debate tonight. Again, that's at 9 p.m. You can watch that here on 3 News. We'll also be streaming it on our Facebook and YouTube pages as well. Now, speaking of COVID-19 and precautions, Governor Mike DeWine yesterday said that coronavirus hospitalizations are trending upward in Ohio. That's not something that we want to hear. We've been talking all this time about looking for that 14-day downward trend. Well, they're trending upward in Ohio now. This is after they had been declining since they had peaked in mid-July, but now we know that they are trending upward here in specifically rural Ohio. Here's what we also know. The average age of people being hospitalized has also gone up. Ohioans who are 60 and older are now about 70% of COVID-19 hospital admissions. That's compared to 50% in July. Now, Some people might be thinking, yes, we know that older people are more at risk. Well, here is why this is significant, particularly if you are a younger person. Governor Mike DeWine said during his press conference on Tuesday, as we said earlier, in August and September, spread among the young and healthy will eventually impact those who are older and more vulnerable, which is why it is so important that younger Ohioans do all they can to prevent the spread. So Governor Mike DeWine making the tie here from increased cases in younger people to increased hospitalization in older people. Now, when we look at these hospitalizations rate, it's the western part of the state that's been seeing an increase in hospital admissions, and comparatively speaking, there have been relatively fewer admissions in northeast and central Ohio. We do know right now that all regions of the state do have enough hospital bed capacity right now, but it's definitely something that we need to be looking at. Dr. Amy Edwards of University Hospitals says, so far we're well below capacity, even though hospitalization rate is going up slightly. It's not ballooning out of control, but it's certainly a sign that things are moving in the wrong direction. So we'd like to put a check on it now before it gets out of control. Dr. Edwards went on to say, I'm going to tell you, if we start going backwards and our hospital rates start to fill up and our hospitals start to get full, I'm going to be afraid because people are going to die that don't need to die. And that's something that we've been talking about since we first learned of this pandemic being present here in Ohio all the way back on March 9th, is the need to make sure, especially coming up on the flu season, that people have access to the care that they need, that hospital beds are available. Again, right now, that is the current situation. There are hospital beds available, but the governor warning yesterday in his press conference that we are seeing upward trends in hospitalizations in parts of Ohio. So something to keep an eye on, and particularly a reminder for people to wear your mask in public, wash your hands, keep that physical distance whenever possible. And if you can't keep that physical distance, have that mask on. Now, COVID-19 is also causing an issue at the Eastlake Middle School right now because the 8th graders are being asked to quarantine after a student has tested positive for COVID-19. This is at the Willoughby Eastlake School District, and it's all 8th graders at Eastlake Middle School. They're being asked to quarantine for 10 days because one student has tested positive for COVID-19. So they won't be able to return to the building until at least October 19th. Superintendent Steve Thompson said that contact tracing is underway and the student in question will remain home until all of their symptoms subside. The rest of the building will remain open for other grades to continue to have in-person classes. Now, this is the second Willoughby Eastlake student to contract COVID-19 since the school year began. It was 3 weeks ago when 75 students and 3 teachers were asked to quarantine after a 6th grader at the School of Innovation in Willoughby Hills tested positive. So now the 8th graders being asked to quarantine at Eastlake Middle School in the Willoughby Eastlake School District. Let's turn to some good news for the Cleveland Browns. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, has been named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So that's one more title that he can add to his resume. He's already the highest paid defensive player in the football. He is, at this time, he was the number 1 pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. And now, for the first time in his career, he is the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And he has his eyes on being named Defensive Player of the Year. So he got named this award because on Sunday, in our 49-38 win over the Dallas Cowboys, Myles Garrett had 3 tackles, 2 quarterback sacks, and forced 1 fumble for the Cowboys. And he had a strip sack for the 3rd week in a row, which is something you love to see. Now, in July, when he signed that contract extension that made him the highest paid defensive player in football at this time. By the way, that was a 5-year, $125 million contract extension. He said that he doesn't want to be the same player that he was last year. He wants to be better in all aspects. He said even on last season's trajectory, he was known to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Well, that sort of got derailed for him when he was suspended for the season after hitting that Pittsburgh Steelers Mason Rudolph in the head with the helmet, but we've moved on from that. He's back now. So what he's saying now for this season is he doesn't want it to be a conversation anymore. He says, this next year, I want to ball out and win that award, but I want to take my team to the playoffs and even higher than that. And that is absolutely what Browns fans want to see No doubt about that. That would be a welcome change of pace. Coming up, the Cleveland Browns face the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday here at home. Both of the teams are 3-1. That kickoff is scheduled for 4:25 p.m. at First Energy Stadium, and people are saying this will definitely be a test for the Cleveland Browns. Our own Jake Crawford says this is going to be the best team that we've faced so far. So Sunday's game will definitely be one to watch if you are a Cleveland Browns fan. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Wednesday, October 7th. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. when we get those updated numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health and the rest of the stories that are topping WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Stay safe and be well. I'll see you back here shortly. I'm Stephanie Haney.